ladies and gentlemen, now hosting the RizzoCast, put your hands together for Steven Risotto!
What's going on, everybody, and welcome. My name is Steven Risotto. I cover the San Francisco Giants for SFB, and I'm the host of RizzoCast, the podcast that features current and former big league players, coaches, fans, media, and others who are regarded as some of the brightest minds around the game of baseball. Today's guest is Trevor Gilmore, a huge baseball fan and the star of the very popular TrevsChirps social media page. You might have seen his page where he posts videos of himself leading heckles, positive and negative ones, at Major League Baseball stadiums across the country. Maybe you haven't heard, or maybe you've heard his catchphrase, "You bum," or "You stud." I know for me, it is all over my social media pages, TikTok, Instagram alike, and I could not pass up the opportunity to have Trevor on the show and talk about his experience. He's since amassed over 290,000 followers on Instagram, nearly 400,000 on TikTok, with millions of views across both platforms. In this episode, we talk about his Giants fandom, the origins of the brand, getting kicked out of stadiums. He's got a hilarious NASCAR experience, developing the different chirps for players, his social media strategy, the process of filming, editing, becoming kind of a noticeable figure around ballparks, so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. This was a great conversation with Trevor. This is episode number 173, and let's get started. Alrighty, and we are back on RizzoCast with Trevor Gilmore, aka TrevsChirps, and Trev is nice enough to hop on the podcast and join the show. What's going on? How you doing? Welcome.
Oh, dude, I'm so good. All the fruit is ripe, you could say. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And by the way, before we start, I saw a recent video kind of related to what you just said with the fruit is ripe. And I agree with you on eating the sticker on a fruit is incomprehensible. And the people that
Why would you do it?
Yeah, the people that do it should be borderline imprisoned. Like
Prison time, for sure.
prison time.
Straight to jail.
Yeah, so I wanted to start off there. So you also, I agree with you. I'm saying I agree with you because it is not a good idea.
Yeah. The fact that we kept getting that comment is even more concerning because people are like, you know, it's edible, right? Okay, great. Why would you? Like if you saw somebody take an apple and the first bite is sticker bite, psychopath, immediate, like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person.
No, I agree. And if you are going to eat it, I think it's the last resort bite of the shell of the apple or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Yeah, most things are edible at least once, you know?
That's very true. That's very true. Well,
Doesn't mean you should.
yeah, no, exactly. Doesn't mean you should. It's not even a good look. I would say morally, it's not a good look either. So, listeners out there, if you are eating the sticker on your apple or fruit, please do not on behalf of Trev and myself. So, but before we get into some of the heckle stuff, I do want to ask, because you are a big Giants fan. I mean, I talk Giants sometimes on here, but mostly I do, I like to profile people, have people tell their stories. But I do want to ask a few Giants stuff. Another really tough season for the organization. They fall a game short of 500. As the kids say, it was mid, just a lot of inconsistencies all the way around. How best would you characterize what you watched this season with the Giants as a fan?
Oh, man. Honestly, typical Giants. Like, as being a fan for as long as I have, you kind of see the same stuff season in and season out. To the point where I'm like, did we cheat in 21, dude? Like, how did we go from the best team in baseball to back to missing playoffs for another 3 straight years, you know? But that's like part of being a fan base is like everybody is a bum until proven otherwise.
No, exactly. Yeah, and that's your catchphrase for those that don't know. And I'm sure everybody that's listening has seen your videos, and we're gonna get into them in just a sec. But there's one more thing, because there is a new change coming to the Giants, right? I'm sure if for those that have been living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard it. I know Trevor has not been living under a rock, but Farhan Zaidi is out as president of baseball operations, and he was replaced by Buster Posey, which is a little bit of a surprise. What did you think about this when it went down?
I think that's a great move for not only the organization but baseball as a whole. We saw Farhan, like the writing was on the wall. He was going to get knocked out eventually, and I'm pretty sure Buster has been doing stuff behind the scenes for a way longer than we know about. Right? He negotiated that Chapman extension. I'm sure he's talked to other players through their contract extensions or even signings in general. So I think this is huge for baseball because he's coming at it from a player perspective and not just a business person perspective. One of the reports that I saw was they were concerned by the coldness that Farhan went about doing business. That's a direct quote, which is ridiculous, dude. Like, we need somebody that's going to be in tune with the players, the organizations, and the fanship that follows this great and storied baseball team.
So Buster is a stud, certified
I think
stud.
so. Yeah, absolutely. My only concern is he's such a beloved player and a forever giant, and a lot of fan bases hate their front office. So I just hope that Giants fans will remember what he did for us in the postseason and our World Series championships, and kind of see him outside of a front office role. Like, yes, he is in charge, but he's still that great player, which we loved. I hope that it doesn't change throughout the season based on the moves that he makes and people are like, get him out of there. This was a mistake.
Yeah, I would hope that they would have the ability to differentiate the two careers, kind of, because that is a slippery slope. Because he can't go any higher in terms of the floor of how popular he is. But for in some people's eyes, the people that judge him as an executive and combine it, he could go lower. So, what's that term? It's like you don't hire someone that you're just going to fire, and in baseball, you're eventually going to fire. Because in baseball, like you get hired to be fired. That's kind of like any
Yep,
job. But um,
100%.
Buster is part of the ownership group, and I think he would have the clear mind to, if things are going not great, to step aside and
Yep.
take it upon himself, kind of like what he did with his playing career. He was the one that stepped away, and the rest is history. Anyways, let's get into everything. You are clearly a diehard Giants fan. You're always rocking the black and orange Hawaiian shirt, which I see you have on right now. And it seems like you got a very detailed man cave right there too. How
Oh,
did
yeah.
your love affair with baseball begin? And tell me about some of those early memories with the game and kind of falling in love with baseball.
Oh, man. My first love of baseball honestly came when I was like 5 or 6. And this is so silly. My buddy was doing T-ball at the time and he came home wearing a jersey. And I just liked the outfit. I was like, I want to wear one of those. That looks slick. But my real fan came out of trauma, as all like sports fans really do. When I was 9, my dad, he's like the sweetest human being. He's a diehard Giants fan. He was actually at the '89 World Series game when the earthquake happened. So I grew up going to Candlestick Park as a baby, but really what cemented it to me was I came home one day after going out to the mall with a buddy of mine, and we got baseball hats, and I picked one just because I like the color, and I come home and it's a Dodger hat. And my dad is furious, dude. He's starts screaming at me as soon as he sees it. What is that on your head? Takes it off, like is yelling, stomps on it. I ended up crying as a 9-year-old. And from then on, I've bled orange and black my entire life. And then learning about the game after that, it's like, how can you not feel romantic about baseball? It's a novel that writes itself, right? There's glory and triumph and disappointment and heartbreak. And it's this thing that anything can happen. It's awesome. It's truly awesome.
I love how you almost getting disowned as a 9-year-old plays a part in your baseball fandom. I think that's very
Yeah, dude.
impressive.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure other people have similar stories to whatever fandom they were kind of born into, right?
So
But
you got the Dodger hat at Candlestick? Is that where you got it?
no, it was, I'm from Sacramento originally. And that friend that got me into baseball, we went with his dad, who happened to be one of my coaches at the time. And we're like in some like sports store and he's getting a hat. His dad played for an adult baseball league and was on the Braves. So he got a Braves hat. And all the way at the top was a blue Dodger hat. And at the time, my favorite color was blue. And I didn't know the implication behind it. And
Yeah.
he ended up getting it for me, and I come home, and I'm pretty sure he knew it was going to piss my dad off, but he did it anyway.
Wow. Could have saved you from that, but didn't. That's pretty awesome. And shout out, by the
No,
way,
that
to
was
the to our friends in the 916.
that's
Uh
right. That's right. That was a
yeah,
canon event. Steve. It had to happen.
Had to happen. Um,
Yeah.
do you have an all-time favorite player that you enjoyed seeing at Candlestick? Anybody, even not on the Giants, that you just enjoyed growing up? Anybody you like on the team now? Who are some of those favorite players that you could kind of highlight?
Oh, dude. By far the greatest to ever do it, Barry Lamar Bonds. And regardless of how you feel about the man, and everybody always makes the same comment, like steroids, they don't make you see pitches better. They don't make you run faster. And the only thing they did for him was make his 400-foot home runs go 450 feet. I actually have, I was at 600,
Oh, look at that. Nice.
the 600, 660, and 700. I have this one of Barry Bonds and our president and Lord and Savior, Buster Posey.
Yeah,
um,
there used to be those shirts Posey for president, right? And now it's
right?
like actually come to fruition and people are
Oh, yeah.
wearing those again. They should make them again, to be honest.
Yeah. Ever since that happened, I salute this picture every day.
Okay. Yeah.
This was actually the Buster Posey Day giveaway when they retired, when he retired, I think. We've been to a lot of historic games, but all of those, all those players from like the early 2000s, like Rich Aurelio, Jeff Kent, JT Snow, Tsuyoshi Sinjo, and then to the 2010s with Hunter Pence and Tim Lincecum. And as much as I hated Brian Wilson for always giving us a heart attack, loading the bases and getting the last out, he was spectacular to watch, man. And I remember vividly that '02 World Series as a kid. And I didn't really know what was going on at the time, but that kind of cements it for you of like going to game 7 and then it all comes crashing down for you.
Yeah.
Um,
You didn't remember it at the time, but like now you hope you never remembered it, right?
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Those rally monkeys, man, they haunt me.
Yeah. No, I know you're not alone. And just to make you feel old a little bit, I was like 6 months old when that happened. So
Jeez, dude.
yeah, I
Why
wanted to do
would you
that
do
to
that to
you.
me?
Yeah, I wanted to do that to you. So,
Thanks, man. I
um,
do that to other people that are older than me. That's so funny.
no, so some of the good stuff with your content here. So you are Trev's Chirps on social media. There are people who may have not seen you, but I'll link everything in the description for those that didn't. I'll go ahead and give you all the plugs you want. This is really kind of a unique niche, I think, or I don't know how people say that, niche or whatever, but you get what I'm saying.
Tomato,
Very unique
tomato.
niche. What's the process of getting into something like this, and getting something like this even started and putting the pieces together to create this type of content?
Yeah. So I've been going to baseball games since I was a baby. We have pictures of me all bundled up in Candlestick, as cold as it was. And I moved up. We live in Tahoe now, and I met some friends 11 years ago, and I've carried my fandom on till then, and got them into it. So I got my buddy Jazz, who's our producer, and he's the one that films and edits everything. It's he and I. Um, I got him into it in 2014, I think, when we watched that 18 inning game together. We stayed up till 3 a.m. And that's when he got into baseball. One, he gets into baseball, and two, the team that he follows wins the World Series the first year that he ever watches baseball. So he got hooked on it immediately. Then I said, dude, do you want to come to games with me? It's so much fun being out at the yard. You get to see it live in person. We have the Reno Aces, which are close by, which is the Diamondbacks affiliate. And he said, yeah. So I take him and my best friend Cody. We go to the game and people start heckling the players, and they're saying terrible stuff as hecklers usually do. So I'm like, this is a better way to do it, and we could make this funny. So we start looking up stuff about the player specifically. It's great growing up in the age of Google, where you can find any information on any person that you want. So we found their zodiac signs, where they went to high school, anything we could make fun of, and we just start saying stuff to them. And then I took a turn, and I was like, what is something that the worst person you've ever met does? And what are the traits and characteristics that those people have? So not using turn signals, clapping when the plane lands, double parking your Prius. And we started using stuff like that. And we did that for a couple of games, and we started getting these crowd reactions, and people really seemed to love it. And we're like having a great time at the yard. And that's when producer Jazz was like, dude, you're getting some great interactions from these people. What if we start filming it and put it on the internet? And I said, sure. The only stipulation is I don't want to film it or edit it. So if you want to do all of that stuff, I'll write all the jokes and be the face of the thing, and maybe we could build something here. So we started posting in September 2022 with this idea because we've never seen anything like this on the internet. Nobody was doing anything like this. And I think 6 months later, um, no, not so much. Later that the next year in May 2023, we went on an East Coast tour because I wanted to see all the baseball stadiums in America, and I wanted to take these two guys on a journey with me, and we could film content in it. So we did Boston down to DC, and I'm pretty sure a year later, our first video goes viral on TikTok, gets 9 million views, and then it just starts going upward ascension from there.
Yeah, no, upward ascension is definitely an understatement. And, you know, I feel like in order to be successful creating this type of content, you like need to be out there. And it sounds like you're the one where it's like, okay, look, I'll be the face of this. And because like for you personally, have you always been kind of a loud person, extrovert type of person? Because honestly, Trevor, this wouldn't work with anybody like more like laid back. Like it seems like you're just full of energy. Have you always been that way?
Oh yeah, dude, I'm super loud all the time. That's ADHD, baby.
Was there any ever
um,
issue? Was there ever any issues in like school or anything? Kicked out of class, all that fun stuff?
Oh, dude, all the time. Always making jokes, class clown. And yeah, I'd always had problems with volume control. And that's funny you asked too. When I was younger, we did this thing called Destination Imagination, where it's like a creativity competition and you can go into different um, categories based on it. So one of the categories we did was write a screenplay, and you have to leave spots open for like to add different props that the judges give you throughout the competition. So I ended up writing a screenplay, and I just kind of took to acting, and that's where I got the talent for vocal projection. You got to learn to come from your diaphragm, dude. Say it with your chest.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's so scientific.
Honestly, and it helps me keep my vocal cords crispy to keep doing it, and I don't really get hoarse anymore. But yeah, I've always been a loud individual. You could hear me from 3 rooms over.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you ever lose your voice? Have you ever lost your voice from a baseball game? Or like, and I guess now you say you're so trained in it that maybe it doesn't happen as much.
No, I've definitely gotten better at it. When we first started doing it, I was just yelling from my throat, and I would definitely get like hoarse and raspy, but now not so much anymore. It's kind of a weird talent I've acquired. And what's funny is people on the internet call me talentless. I'm like, have you ever yelled this long without get losing your voice?
Yeah. Let's see your follower count. How about that? Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
No, that's pretty cool. And I think the cool thing about today's society of content creation is that, you have a platform that is only going to grow upward, and social media has created opportunities for a lot of people and groups to do stuff and become more visible all by themselves. Like we've seen it happen with John Boy, we've seen it happen with former players starting their own podcasts. There's the guys that I see on Instagram, I'm sure you see them too, who look like they're even younger than me, who go up to people and ask about their major league debut and like, who do you remember from your major league debut? And they're
Oh,
wearing like the sweat shorts out there on the field, and it's like, how did they
yeah.
get on the field? But
Got a
but
Fat Boys baseball.
Bat Boys baseball, shout out! I want to
Yeah.
get them on
Right.
so bad,
Yeah.
um, but got to get them on. But what are some of the trends that you've noticed running a successful TikTok, Instagram page, you name it, that you could kind of pass down to somebody that maybe wants to get into content creation of their own? So, somebody trying to break through the industry, a growing industry, what would you tell them in terms of like tips and everything?
Well, first of all, you got to have an original idea, which was it's so difficult to come up with this in this day and age because there's so much content and people out there doing it. Lucky for us, we came up with something that nobody else was doing. Like you said, found that niche. And the most important thing is that you have to post when you get started, at least post every single day. That really floods the algorithm with your stuff and shows it to a bunch of people. Some people might not want to see it, but those are the people that interact as the haters. Um, so I didn't realize how big this could get. I just wanted to tell some jokes on the internet. And it turns out that a lot of people also wanted to see it too. And we would be nothing without this fan base and this following. So I'm so grateful that other people out there want to see more of this. And the fact that it's grown so much that I'm getting asked to take pictures at games, and I've signed autographs, which is so wild to me because I'm just some guy.
I was just about to go there too. So people know who you are now. Like you're at the point where you're probably getting recognized. You are getting recognized. You just said, how often does that happen? Like how often do people come up to you? And is that something that like you're a fan of? Because I know a lot of people don't like the attention. Uh, but is that something you're a fan of, and B, how often does it happen?
Oh, dude, I love it. And also, why are you going to put it on the internet if you don't want attention? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, obviously, people are going to see this. But I love it. I love when people ask me for pictures because I'm just a dude. And the fact that people are like starstruck when they see most of our fan base is like, I don't know, kids ages like 5 to 14. And the fact that they're like geeked out to see me in public, want to take pictures, want my autograph. I love that. I will never say no to a fan coming to say hi. And now it happens all the time. At first, it was kind of a slow build, but now, it's most specifically in ballparks, I get, I don't know, 20 to 40 people, depending on where we are. One game we went to down in the Reno Aces, they were having a little league baseball tournament in town. Swarmed, dude, people lining up, and to the point where people saw a line and then started getting in the line, not knowing why they're in line, and that makes me giggle, especially when kids come up and their parents are confused. Like, my kids want a picture with you for some reason. Who
Yeah.
are you, dude?
And you're
So
on Cameo too.
yeah. I mean, I'll do anything for money. Got to diversify, and that's the best thing about this in this day and age is like there's so much opportunity to expand and do whatever you want. So I'm thinking about getting into stand-up comedy, which I had a small stint with when I was 20. Wasn't very good at it because I didn't have any life experience, but obviously podcasting is also an option because for some reason people want to hear my opinion on things, and I'm like, okay, I'll talk about it, I guess. um, but it's awesome. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that we've been given and the people that reach out, and even being on podcasts like yourself of somebody that is directly connected with the Giants is huge. I love stuff like this.
I think you should start one yourself too, and have me on too. We'll do like a little joint
Absolutely.
show together. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, dude.
and it's funny you mentioned the Little League Day and the kids coming up because a lot of your heckles and your positive heckles too are like PG, right? It's like nothing but like not like you're cussing or anything. Are you like aware of that when you're posting? Because obviously you don't want to get like banned from the app. I don't know what those guidelines are or anything. But are you cognizant of the idea that like okay, a lot of young people, I guess, unfortunately or fortunately, have access to social media, so they might be seeing this. Is that something you think about?
Not really. The whole premise behind it was to do clean comedy so you don't get kicked out of baseball stadiums. And honestly, it's a
That's
much
very true.
harder medium, right? It's a much harder medium. If you're vulgar or swearing, one, that's no fun for anybody around because like kids do come to ballparks. And two, it's more fun to be more creative in the clean aspect of comedy. I swear all the time in my personal life, but online and in the ballparks, you keep it clean. You rarely get kicked out.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I right after I asked that question, I was like, you know what, you probably can't like scream at ballparks like profanities or anything. As cool content as that would be, like honestly, it doesn't take much when you're mixing in certain words. Um,
Hmm.
so you come up with a lot of different types of heckles, and usually like for Giants, you're doing some aspect of the positive heckling. I wrote one down actually that you said to Michael Conforto. You said a bunch to Michael Conforto just because your
Yeah.
configuration and him being a left fielder and you sitting in the bleachers. Hey, Michael, I bet you always pick out the best melons at the store, you stud. And
Yeah.
then and then it's like the little side comments too get cut to, and it's like perfect or perfectly ripe every time. And then
Every
for
single
yeah,
time.
for other players, it's just like a straight up heckle, right? And you did one for Kevin Kiermaier, and it was, "Hey Kevin, I bet you eat Kit Kat sideways, you bum." So take me through the process of how you come up with these, and like, do you have them written down? I imagine your notes section on your phone is insane. Tell me about that whole process of brainstorming, from the process of brainstorming them to ultimately saying them verbally.
Yeah. Uh, so it started out, like I said, with we were just trying to come up with like things that people do that bother me, you know? So camping out in the left lane, or like if somebody did eat a Kit Kat sideways, you'd be like, that is a psychopath. And that was actually our first one that went viral. That got like, I don't know, 7 million views in 2 days. And I'm like, that's when it really locked into where we're like, we have something here. So I would just start writing them in the notes section. Eventually, we made a Google Doc and it just kept expanding and expanding to the point where now it's a Google Sheets. There's over 700 chirps out there. They're all categorized by keyword, if we've done them at a ball game, if they've been posted. And we kind of just workshop them between Cody, Jazz, and I to like what makes us laugh, or like if somebody did this, would it bother you? And now it's kind of expanded to like people. We've gotten so big that I don't actually have to write jokes anymore. I still do, like, but if some people submit them through the page, they'll DM us or comment, and if they're any good, I'll write them down and use them at ball games. Or if we're in the crowd, early on, like at the Red Sox game where we were at, one guy behind us who was really into it was like, "What about people that drink red wine with fish?" And I was like, "Oh, diabolical. I'm using that, dude. How uncultured." So it's stuff like that that's really cool that gets people's creative juices running, and they really start to think of their pet peeves, of things that bother them. And now it's expanded into like song lyrics. The recent one that we did with Natasha Bedingfield, which I'm so committed to the bit that I don't know who she is.
No.
And yeah, the pina coladas one and stuff like that. And then we started, the way we got to this positive and stud ones is like we're doing a lot of negative stuff, but there's not really any chirps of us cheering on our team. So how can we spin this to make it like we're cheering on our guys, and how do we pump them up? So I started thinking about like, what are some things that somebody would do that you would be like, oh, good dude, absolute stud. And that's where these came from, of like, I bet you pick up the pretend phone when a child hands it to you, or I hear you can carry the groceries in on the first trip, and I hear you can start a lawnmower first try, stuff like that. And that's, it kind of just builds from there. And the list is growing every single day. Some people on the internet are like, oh, he's running out of ideas. I haven't even gotten close to running out of ideas, Steven.
Yeah, the Natasha Bedingfield one was awesome, and
So good.
at a game that I was at, they played unwritten as a sing-along inning. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, wow. So the Giants are like, maybe they watched one of his videos, and like I think I had watched the video of that like the night previous, and I was like, wow, that's crazy timing. Um, how often are you heckling and recording content during the course of a game? Is this like an every inning thing, multiple times a game? What is your estimate in terms of like overall activity at the ballpark when you're there?
So I usually write down ahead of time like 10 to 15 that I want to use that day. And when we first started, we were going all game, first inning, immediately, as soon as we can. Now we start in the third inning so I can warm up the people around us and let them know what's going on. Like, hey, we're going to be filming some content. I'm going to be heckling this left fielder, but it's all clean stuff. And I have a bunch of jokes written. And for the most part, everybody's like, that's awesome, as it should be. Please let us know if we can help. And that's how people started getting into chanting "you bum" with us. Uh, but I do like maybe two or three an inning, unless people start asking for more. And more often than not, people want to hear more. Very rarely do we have people in the crowd that are like, can you stop doing that? They usually want to complain later in the comment section.
Yeah, no, you're answering all my questions because I was gonna say the people sitting around you, do they receive like a? I was gonna say, do they receive like a warning of some sort? Because like, eventually maybe they're gonna think to themselves, oh damn, this guy's gonna be going off all game, and I gotta embrace it. So they do receive a warning. That's good to hear. And I know many people watching baseball games at the ballpark, a lot of them just want to sit back and enjoy the garlic fries and the $30 beer, $50 million beer, and I guess technically if you're sitting in the bleachers, you kind of know what you're asking for.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and what percentage of the fans, and you kind of answered this just now, but like get severely annoyed by you? Has there ever been any incidents with anybody sitting around you where they're just like, you gotta stop. Like this is annoying. It's the eighth inning of this game and we can't take this anymore.
Um, the only time I can think about is one guy didn't like my jokes at the beginning, but I won him over at the end, to where a couple of them at the end he was like, okay, some of these are pretty good. So it's all about throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. But now, even the people that may not be into it, like throughout the course of the game, people will hear me because I'm loud, and they'll come up to me to take pictures. And the funniest part of that is like they could be hating at the beginning of the game, but then they see people coming up to me and thanking me and telling me I'm a hero, and I'm like, oh my god! And they're like, who is this guy? So for the
Yeah.
most part, we let people know, and I am socially aware, and I can see like if people aren't into this, but I'm mostly gauging the crowd reaction, and if we're not getting anything, then I'll stop doing it because those don't make for good videos when it's completely silent or people are giving you dirty looks. We want happy, smiling faces. We want people that are contributing or like being a part of it too, and that's we just got a 360 camera so that can get all the crowd reactions around us because these organic reactions is what we really do it for, and that's the kind of the stuff that we were missing when we first started. But for the most part, I would say like 99% of people in the crowd are into it and stoked, or they see me walking into the bleachers and they're like, oh my god, we're sitting by you today. Yes, fantastic. They're really excited to be a part of it, and we all just kind of want to be a part of something as a fandom, and it makes us feel like we're a part of the game. And so that's why ultimately I started doing it, to feel like we're affecting it somehow.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I think it's even better because like you doing it multiple times a game probably get content for like weeks and months and stuff. So you could kind of just, even if you don't make it out to a game for a few weeks, then you'll still have enough content to kind of spread out a little bit. So I think that's really cool. And in a recent video, you mentioned that you've been kicked out of an MLB stadium a few times. And I was going to mention this earlier when you mentioned that, obviously you can't say profanities, but if you can, we need just even the Spark Notes stories from those ejections. What happened? I know Chase Field was one of them, and then Minute Maid Park was another one. We got to hear what happened. Why did you get kicked out?
The Minute Maid Park one was the first one, and that was early 2022. I was just visiting my mom in Texas, and I'm like, Ma, we're close to Houston. Let's go check out a game. And I like doing this anyway. It's not even a bit like this is who I am as a human being. So I was chirping, and it was just part of those early jokes that I had written, and the people in front of me loved it. They were super into it, but the people behind me not so much. And you know how they have like the text lines that you can send messages to. So I think multiple people complained to security. But even before somebody complained to security, security was on me from my very first joke. He's like, "You can't heckle in here." And I'm like, oh, so we're sensitive because everybody keeps making trash can jokes. I'm not even making those jokes, one. And two, I'm heckling the Rangers, the opposing team. I'm not even heckling your team. So the Astros were just a little sensitive, but I just kept going. And eventually, after one of my jokes, the security guard was coming to get me, and I just saw myself out because I knew he was coming. And then, so that was the first time I've ever been kicked
Did
out
your
of a
mom
stadium.
also get kicked out?
No, she ended up leaving after we were spoken to security by security the first couple of times. She's like, I'm not going back to those seats, which is funny because those weren't even our seats. We would just buy the cheapest seats in the stadium and then go sit wherever there were open seats because, like, that's just a hack. If you don't
Yeah,
know that, you're just wasting money on
yeah.
expensive seats.
And before you go into the Chase Field thing, I do have to ask, have you ever done that? Because this side tangent possibly, but
Yeah.
whatever. Have you ever done that where you go and like you get the cheapest seats and then at game time you look to see where the most like the best available seat is, then you go and sit
Yeah.
in it? Is that
Oh, yeah.
I the fear that is had, when I would, before like press box stuff and everything, I gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Before press, I was like, what if like that's a season ticket of somebody and like they just couldn't sell off one of the seat and you sit down and they're like, wait, I didn't sell that, like that type of thing. But
Who cares?
yeah, who
You just go
cares?
sit somewhere else. They're never going to ask you to leave, you know?
That's
And that's
very
the best
true.
part about the bleachers, too. Like, you could buy upper deck tickets and then you go on MLB.com and look at the seat map and just see where the unsold seats are and go sit there. And
Hey,
that's
there's a hack for
100%
everybody
success
out
rate.
there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100% success rate. Don't tell anybody, though.
Yeah. Okay. Now Chase Field.
Chase Field was funny, and I like the lore more than the actual story because it's less fun. But what ended up happening is, as soon as we got there, apparently we have a pretty big following in Arizona because as soon as we showed up, to preface this, had met a guy that makes Michelada and Bloody Mary mix. I wish I could remember the name. He's great. George, shout out to you. You were awesome. He invites us to the bar that's across the street from Chase Field, and we may have been overserved. So we didn't get to our seats till the fourth inning, but as soon as we walk down, everybody sees the jerseys, and they're pretty iconic at this point. And everybody's like, "Yeah, oh my God, you're here! Let's hit them! Let's get them! This is great! We're so excited now for this game." So we sit down and we're high fiving people. Somebody's in our seats, so we ended up just grabbing a row that was open. And as soon as we whipped out the 360 camera, the family sitting behind us got super weird, dude. And they're like, "We don't want to be on film." And here's the thing about that, man. If you tell me you don't want to be on film, I'm not going to include you. Also, again, like I said before, we want happy, smiling faces, and they weren't one of them. So we're like, whatever, we're not going to put you on film. You need to stop being weird. Also, that's a little suspicious because you're in a public place and there are cameras all over the place that you maybe because you can't see them, you're not worried about them, but it's because this one was right in front of their face. So throughout the game, they kept complaining to security that we were filming. And technically, we are in public, but it is private property. So you're not allowed to go against their code of conduct should they say that you are. And that's when the first time it happened, Cody, who carries the 360 camera, got taken to customer service, like right behind us. We had no idea he was missing until somebody was like, "Hey, your buddy got taken by security." So we're like, "What? We gotta go." So that was like the sixth inning. And so Jazz and I are like, "Well, let's go get him from jail." So we pick him up. They're like, they took the 360 camera, but they gave me a ticket to go retrieve it after the game. And I was like, "That's fine. Let's go back to the seats. We need to get to work because we'd only gotten like 2 or 3 chirps out. And this is technically a work trip." So as we're coming back down to the seats after getting Cody, standing ovation, Steven, from everybody in the left field section. They're stoked we're back. They're thanking us for coming back. I'm getting told I'm a hero. And I'm like, for what? What am I even doing? And that's when people start whipping out their phones. And that's how we got all the different angles of us coming back. And I'm high-fiving people and blowing kisses. And dude, it was nuts. It was absolute bedlam. So we kept going. And Cody's like, "I'm still going to film on my phone." But he had the front camera facing us, but he didn't turn it around. So it was on selfie cam facing the people that didn't want to be filmed. So they saw themselves being filmed. Oh man, yeah, that's just a comedy of errors, unfortunately. So security comes and talks to us again, and they're like, "Okay, we won't film anymore." So that's when everybody else whips out their phone. I go, "We're gonna keep going. You guys can film. We can't. Just send us the clips afterwards, and we'll include them." And that's when the lady complained again, and they had us booted.
Yeah, that's like accidentally hitting like a police car in like GTA or whatever, and it automatically goes to like 5 star. That's terrifying. That's the worst possible thing that could happen. So
and it's funny too because like the speculation, and we did this purely for engagement. Everybody on YouTube is like, "Yeah, you got kicked out. Hecklers are the worst. You're ruining the game. You annoyed all those people." Like, no, that's not why we get kicked out. But keep commenting, keep engaging with this, and it's going to keep your algorithm coming back every time. So
exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to correct these people. Just keep it as is. Let the speculation is better than the story, as it were.
Yeah, the best part about that is the people that comment and they're like, "We don't care about this." Like, you commented, you you comment, you engaged. Like, that's an engagement right there. So no, that's hilarious. And hopefully you're able to go back to Chase Field at some point, and Minute Maid at some point. Oh, you're not going back?
No, dude, it was 108 the entire time we were there. We're never going back to Arizona, dude.
I guess that's very fair.
How do people live there? It's awful.
Yeah, that should be one. I bet you live in Arizona, you bum.
You bum? What are you, a lizard?
Exactly. So you mentioned that Reno Aces, and I know you've been to some Rivercat stuff too. I love the minor league content too, because it's quiet. Your voice is clearly able to be heard. It carries. It's almost like a golden opportunity for you to go to some of these minor league games, because at the ballpark, like no matter, like it depends on where you sit, but you're going to get heard at a minor league stadium. How fun is it for you to attend some of those games?
Dude, it's a blast, especially in like the more intimate setting, and that's even more fun for fans when they come up to us too. But yeah, we always sit closer to the first and third base lines, and that is where we had some of the best reactions. Joey Loperfido, the Space Cowboys, and then he got called up to the Astros literally the next day. He loved us. He threw me a ball. Blaine Krim of the Round Rock Express, he also loved it. DM'd him. He threw me a ball. Joey Loperfido actually reached back out to us and told us he loved it. And I was like, "Do you have a favorite joke?" He goes, "There were so many of them, man, but that was great stuff, and I'm happy to be a bit a part of it." So we really enjoy the minor league stuff, and it seems that the players do too, because some of these guys, I mean, they're really good. Joey and Blaine are getting called up, but some of them may not make it up to the majors. So to be able to like be in that type of atmosphere must have been awesome for them.
Yeah, to be able to get heckled is quite the badge of honor. And to
Yeah,
be able to get
absolutely.
heckled by TrevsChirps is an even bigger badge of honor. So that's
Darn
pretty cool.
tootin'.
And the funny thing about a minor league stadium, I have two friends, Robbie Lewis and Doug Hayes, that do the Say Hey podcast, which is really good
Hell yeah.
Giants content. And they have a funny story of when they were like teenagers or something where they're at a minor league stadium and Robbie nobody was in the ballpark. There was a runner at first base and the runner like they were trying to figure out if he was going to steal second base or not. And Robbie just yelled, "Runner!" But the runner didn't go. So the catcher stood up, threw the ball to second. Nobody was covering second and threw the ball in the center field because he heard Robbie say,
Oh,
"Runner!" So
that's awesome.
and Robbie went up and ran away, and they always laugh about that. It's one of my favorite stories. So
That's
you're,
awesome.
yeah,
That's an example of directly affecting the game. It's so much fun. A lot of times the guy
exactly.
we're heckling either moves positions or gets taken out by the seventh or eighth.
Yeah.
He's
So
like,
hey,
"Coach, I can't listen to this anymore." And it's fun to think that they're talking about this in the clubhouse.
yeah, they definitely are talking about it. I'm sure they are.
I
And you
hope
did
so.
some NASCAR too, some NASCAR, or at least some racing. It was NASCAR, right? You did some
Yeah.
heckling there. Somehow you
Oh
got
yeah.
you got in near the I don't players. Is that the right thing to call them? The
The drivers.
drivers,
Yeah.
drivers.
Dude, so no, it was at Sonoma Raceway. They invited us to come do that. They gave us the keys to the castle. They gave us like NASCAR essential badges. They gave us a campsite in like the inner circle. They gave us VIP access, vouchers for food. It was incredible. But we ended up getting in trouble because we're doing it on pit lane. Because I was like, how am I going to heckle these drivers? They're not going to hear me. The cars are too loud, and that's no fun. Who cares? So we end up walking through, and I don't know anything about NASCAR, Steven. The fact that they even reached out to us, I was like, "Yeah, I'll come do it." I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll try. Shout out Sophia from Sonoma Raceway. Appreciate you. She has us out there, and I'm like, "Okay, let's try to go on like pit lane and see if we can get stuff." And it was during qualifiers for the Xfinity Cup, which is like the AAA drivers. And as I'm walking through, I ask a random guy, I was like, "Where are the drivers at, man?" He goes, "Look for the dudes in onesies." And I go, "Thanks, you've been no help." So the first drivers we saw, we walked past all their trailers. We're in it, man, like with everybody. And we walk past two guys, and that same dude comes back and goes, "You guys really aren't NASCAR fans. You just walked past two drivers." And I was like, I thought it was very clear. I'm in a Giants like jersey. I don't know anything about this. I asked for your help and you did nothing. So we ended up heckling Zane Smith. He was great. I told him all about what I was doing, and I go, "I would love to chirp you, but I'm gonna like go across the way and do it." He goes, "Okay." So we did that, and that's when we started to get our bearings. I'm like, let's go to pit lane and start chirping these guys. So we get like four or five drivers in. We meet a guy who's like, "Oh, this is all the same team. These guys are great. Chirp them." And then we walked down and we chirped one driver who ended up complaining to the principal. We get called in the office. And do you know how embarrassing it is as a 32-year-old male to have to explain to people that you're an influencer and you're here to heckle freaking drivers, dude? And Sophia apparently didn't talk to
I was
anybody.
gonna say, like, Sophia's probably like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God."
No, she didn't talk to anybody because I got asked several times, "Who are you and why are you here?" And I'm like, "Did nobody get the memo? Like, you didn't tell anybody that I was going to be doing this. The fact that you invited us and got clearance for all of this and like wanted us to do outreach for this, you didn't tell anybody that we were coming." So one of the driver complained, and we got told not to do it anymore. And it was a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That was Saturday. And then Sunday was the actual NASCAR race with like the professional drivers. So we didn't get to heckle them at all. Really chaps my ass, man, because now people are asking us to go back and chirp the NASCAR drivers, the Nextel Cup Series drivers. And I'm like, I, I can't. We'll never be invited back.
Yeah. Let's hope Sophia is not a free agent. So
No,
let's hope
no,
she's
she
still
still
employed
definitely
after
has a job and she watches some of the stuff. But I appreciate the experience, and I'm like, I didn't know how any of this was gonna. It was weird, man, but it made for a good story.
That
So
is an excellent. You didn't even make it to the main event. I
no,
mean,
we used to went and watch the race, which was fun, but we couldn't like go down in the pits anymore. We had two NASCAR officials like watching us like a hawk, man. To like, they didn't want us to do any negative ones. They wanted us to do like more "you stud" chirps, and I'm like, well, that's no fun. Like some of these drivers people don't like, and I'm sure they want me to talk shit to them.
yeah, and I like
So
how different it is from baseball because I saw the videos and they're just like, it was more of an abbreviated like, hey, like normal room voice, but then also
yeah,
like they were mid conversation with someone usually, so that they'd look over and they'd just go, and like they're
what?
just like these like the middle-aged white guys just like that have never laughed in 10 years just
Yeah,
happen to have such a great time by these chirps. So
dude, some of them
that is
were pretty great.
hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
shout out Justin Allgaier. He's a stud. He was into it. He gave us an interview afterwards. Ed Jones was awesome. He was the Cracker Barrel guy. Garrett Smithley is a fan of the page and follows, and he's like, if you ever want to come out to a race, I got you. Come on down. So some of some of the drivers, some of the drivers.
I'm not cutting that part
They're
out.
great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a Freudian slip right there.
Yeah.
Some of the drivers were great dudes,
Yeah.
and he might do it again. We're trying to branch out. We have a minor league hockey team that just started in South Lake, so we're going to go down there, and we've already kind of connected with them. They gave us tickets behind the penalty box, so nothing's off limits. We're going to keep trying different sports and see what we can do. A lot of people want us to come to like the Little League World Series, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna yell at children, dog. That
Those
doesn't
kids are
look good to
yeah,
me
theyose
at
kids are
all.
12. Those kids are
Yeah,
12. They're
yeah.
already
I'm
getting
sure
yelled at by
also
their
their parents don't
dads.
want them on the internet as well. So
Yeah. The
uh,
hockey one should be cool though, because like if a guy's in a penalty box, like they're probably
he's
pissed
stuck,
off
dude.
already. Like you're just gonna
Get
like
him. We can get him, and it's double A. It's ECHL hockey, so it's like two rows below the NHL. So it should be pretty fun.
yeah, there's like nobody there except three guys, one with a 360 camera,
Hmm.
and one with a Giants Hawaiian
Oh,
TrevsChirps.
we all have
Yeah.
matching jerseys.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, these are
Um,
actually for sale on our merch store, and we
yes.
just
I'm plugging everything. I will
oh yeah,
not put this up without putting your link tree, your socials,
yeah,
all that stuff in there. Um,
appreciate it.
a few more before we wrap. You've hit up
Yeah.
stadiums everywhere, San Francisco being the main. And you've mentioned your trip to the East Coast, a few other places along the way. Outside of Oracle Park, which of these stadiums stands out to you in a good or bad way?
Oh man, that's a tough question because like people go through and rank like 30 to 1 best stadiums
Very hard
in
to
the
do.
all of
Yeah.
America, but I look at it like from a different standpoint of like how are the vibes? How is the fanship? What's like the food like? What's the layout like? So, I mean, Petco is my second favorite park of all time, obviously because San Diego one is beautiful. It's got like this personality about it, especially with like the Western Supply building that's been built into it and the park that goes around behind it. Seattle was awesome. The Penn section is a great time. That has a good atmosphere. The people that hang out in there and the standing room only is dope. All of them, every single one of them has its own je ne sais quoi about it and its own personality. Like we loved, people talk shit about the Mets. We loved Citi Field. I mean, aside from the fact that it's in Queens and so far away from everything, but the fact that Shea Stadium was right there and you can see the home plate where it used to be, and like the tailgate was dope, and the fans were so much fun, and they brought an atmosphere. Least favorite park I would say is Nationals Park, just because like it's just in a random place. It doesn't make any sense. The fans are kind of fair weather. Um, But it's stuff like that. Like Fenway was like stepping into a time machine. The bank where the Phillies play was dope, and the surrounding area was super cool. And Xfinity Live being right there, and all the other stadiums in the area. So it really just depends on like how what is the vibe like? That's how I base everything off. But Oracle, by far and away, number one. It's the only one by the ocean. Dude, you get this incredible panoramic view all over the park. There's never a bad seat. So being biased, regardless, that one holds a special place in my heart for sure.
Yes, and I know a lot of Giants fans are with you in that Petco's number two because it is beautiful. It's number two for me as well. Unbelievable ballpark and great,
Mm-hmm.
right in the gas lamp too. Like
Right
it's an
there.
amazing area. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's really nice. But Trev, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a blast. I want to give you a chance to plug yourself, but before I do, you are doing a service to the game. You're doing a service to sports. A lot of fans love. I love your content. I'm sure I know a lot of other fans love your content too, or else they wouldn't be, following you the way they do. So you are doing a great job as being an ambassador to the game, and you're having such a fun time doing it. So I think that's what matters too as well. So I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying all that. That's all we're trying to do is make it more fun because a lot of people say baseball is boring or it's dying. Like those people, I would argue that you don't know enough about the game. And not only are we chirping, but if people have questions, I love baseball education, and that's some of the longer form that we're going to break into in the off season. I want to go and talk about the history behind the Giants Dodgers rivalry, or talk about some of the reasons some rules were put into place. So I really like to spread my stoke on baseball and hope that I can maybe bring some new fans to the game and get some more fresh eyes on all of this stuff, and hopefully I make them Giants fans.
Absolutely. And the people that say baseball boring, they're bums, right?
They sure are, dude.
They're bums. So
The
why don't you go
biggest
ahead?
problem.
Yeah, tell everybody listening or watching, like where can you find yourself?
Yeah, we are on all platforms at TrevsChirps on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube. We have a link tree. There's a link in our bio. We have great merch. We're releasing hoodies. We have shirts coming out. We have these jerseys for sale. We just dropped the price. They're fully customizable. You can make them say you stud, you bum, pick your number and size, everything. Next game we will be at is November 2nd at South Lake Tahoe. Come out, watch some hockey. It'll be a good time. And keep following the page. I can't tell the people enough how much I appreciate the fandom and like all the support we've gotten. I'm so grateful for all the people that come take pictures and want me to sign autographs and are just stoked to see us out there. So, and I'm grateful for you, Stephen, for reaching out, and like the fact that you're also connected with the Giants too is awesome. We are official affiliates and influencer affiliates. We sell tickets. You can get that at the link in our bio for next season and get a 10% discount. And we'll see you. We have, also last thing, next year, Midwest tour. We're going to do Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City.
Nice.
So yeah, dude, just trying to check them all off. We'll be out there. Come say hi or fight me. I don't care.
Record both of them, please.
That's
Especially
right.
the fight one. And go get yourself some like soul food or whatever's down there in the Midwest. Barbecue,
Yeah.
all that fun
Oh yeah.
stuff. That should be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, thanks again for coming on. Everybody could follow the podcast on Twitter and X and Instagram.
Yeah.
It's Twitter. I'm sorry. It's Twitter.
Is it?
I think it is. X, formerly known as Twitter and
Really
Instagram.
noticed bird. Whatever,
Yeah.
dude. The
At
one with the bird.
RizzoCast. Yeah,
Obviously, we like bird.
yes. I'm gonna get myself a shirt too. So
Yeah, dude.
when those come out, I'm definitely gonna get myself a shirt.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I actually might have an extra one I can send you, my guy. What's your
okay,
size?
large.
You got it. I got one
Okay.
for you.
Okay.
And some
Well,
stickers too. And we have koozies too. They're great quality.
they're
Keep
all
your
going
drink
on my
cold in your
water
hand warm.
bottle. They're all
Mm-hmm.
going on my water. The best thing about a water bottle sticker is
Yeah.
that you get to explain them. So
Yeah.
the only sticker I have on my water bottle right now, there's a lot of room. The only one I have is from Ike's sandwiches because I am a
What?
big fan of Ike's sandwiches. That's the randomest one. So you're
Dude,
shaking your head
send
at me.
me your address after this. I'll send you a couple tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. I will do. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah,
Um,
dude.
and then everybody could go ahead and follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. More to come Go check out TrevsChirps. I'll link it all in the description. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and have a great day.